Alright, everybody, welcome back to the last part of our lower tier Pokemon buffs discussion video for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Again, if you've missed the first two parts of this little series that I've been doing, the links will be in the description down below, so you guys can check out all the juicy buffs that every lower tier Pokemon has gotten coming into Generation now. And now, back into the part 3 of this video. We don't have much Pokemon left to talk about, so yeah, this video is going to be a lot shorter than the last two parts. That was at least an hour's worth of content, and I was happy that I switched up the fact that I don't have like an hour and a half long just one video, and I split it up into several parts. So yeah, it was pretty good. But yeah, let's begin with all of the new stuff. This was yesterday's box, today's box for the national decks. So the first thing I want to talk about is Umbreon now. Now Umbreon has Calm Mind, like all evolutions got. They all received Calm Mind, and Umbreon also has T-Wave now, which is pretty interesting. For Pokemon like Umbreon, the fact that it really only had Toxic as a status move was interesting, but now it has T-Wave, so things are going to be a little bit different. But let me talk about the potential of Calm Mind Umbreon sets. Now, evolutions again don't have the best coverage, but at the same time Umbreon still has Stab Dark Pulse. It still has Shadow Ball, for example. Like Dark is pretty spammable, and especially Ghost is spammable, and I could see a thing where a bulky Umbreon like win concept could be Calm Mind, Dark Pulse, Wish, Protect, especially with the likes that fire fairy types are less in numbers now, so Omron can easily just get away with running like a physically defensive set with CM and then just go from there, and it's pretty, like, it looks like a pretty solid like win con in the lower tiers, particularly like RU or something. Like Umbreon seems like he'll do a lot, especially after a couple of boosting. Now it doesn't have the highest special attack stat, like it's only 60, and that plus 6 is only going to be around like I can't do the maths. Past 500, I believe. No, it's gonna be past 600 actually. So it will have decent attack, like, but its most important thing is its bulk. That is massive bulk, able, like, it will remind you of like a Mashana or like a Uxie or something. And speaking of Uxie, Uxie also has the new move that the Pixies got, which is called Mystical Power. Now I talked about it on Mesprit a little in the last video, where it wouldn't be used that much, but at the same time a Specs Mesprit with Mystical Power will just keep boosting its special attack, so it becomes quite threatening. Now, Uxie doesn't have the offensive presence that Mesprit or Azelf has, but it has the bulk to make up for it. So having Mystical Power over Psychic, for example, as like a damaging move for a defensive Uxie set is pretty cool, because you could go U-turn, you could go Stealth Rock, and then the last move could be like T-Wave or another coverage option, or Yawn. Like the last move is very customizable on Uxie, but having an ability to make Uxie that is quite passive overall into something that can actually start hitting decently hard after like 2 mystical powers would be actually pretty cool. So Uxie gets actually better with mystical power. Like Mesprit won't really feel it too much, but Uxie should have a good time with it. Now onto another evolution that we haven't discussed yet, Vaporeon. Now Vaporeon might be the best CM use of the evolutions, but I still think it might lean towards Umbreon, just because it's overall like the most bulkiest Pokemon. Like Vapo has the massive HP stat and the decent Spadef, but its defense is lacking. So in terms of what CM Vaporeon is capable of, well, it has Hydro Pump, it has Ice Beam, and it should have Shadow Ball. Like, it has decent coverage. Like, it can't hit bulky waters, but at least you have like Shadow Ball as like good neutral coverage with CM, and then even then, like, you could go CM free attacks or like CM Wish Protect like Umbreon does, and just decide to go with Hydro Pump. Now, water is decent stab wise, but obviously it has Pokemon that are immune to it with like Auto Absorb and Storm Drain, so you're gonna have to be careful with that. But otherwise, no, you wouldn't even go Hydro Pump. Hydro Pump's only 8 PP. You would go Surf. Yeah, so you would go Surf, Wish Protect, and yeah, Vapo looks decent here. Like max HP, max defense. Like it'll be very bulky once it gets a couple of boosts up as well. And yeah, that is it really for Vapo. Unfortunately, he lost Scald and Toxic and Heal Bell, but Yeah, so Vapor's viability has dropped a little bit, but at least with a CM set, you could try and potentially do something with that as well. So yeah, there's that. Now onto Vespiquen. Vespiquen is pretty much like a low tier lifer. It's a bug flying type. It has bulk, but its times full weakness to Stealth Rock, and also common weaknesses to things like flying, ice, and fire make it pretty bad overall as a Pokemon. But it does have spikes, and it does have U-turn, so it has access to both spikes, which is interesting for a lower tier Pokemon. It does have rocks, but it does have both spikes. So Vespiquen has U-turn as well with a decent attack stat of 80. So Vespiquen isn't necessarily passive, and it should have Roost. I'm gonna have to double check that, but if it has Roost, then it'll be fine. If it doesn't, then Vespiquen has no recovery and it's kind of bad. But overall, doesn't change much for Vespiquen. It's still a lower tier Pokemon, and it's not really gonna get used that much. But at least it's better than Spidops, so you can't really complain about that. But yeah, on to the next Pokemon. We have Whiscash, and Whiscash has spikes and it has Stealth Rocks. Now, like I mentioned in the past two videos, the Water Ground types getting Stealth Rock and spikes is pretty good for Whiscash. Now, it gives its defensive sets a lot more, viability, because offensively, Whiscash isn't the strongest. Like, sure, it has Dragon Dance and decent dual stab in water and ground, but at the same time, it has a measly 78 attack stat and is not particularly fast after Dragon Dance. So its bulkier sets are going to be a bit interesting now, since it actually has hazards to utilize that. Now, it lost Scald, like most bulky waters, which is quite unfortunate. But at the same time, Whiscash still has 76 special attack, which isn't bad by any means if you run Surf and Earth Power, for example. And yeah, I just think that this one would be a decent, like, PU Pokemon, to be honest, like, with Spikes and Stealth Rocks. It seems interesting enough. I'm sure it loses Toxic as well, but it still has a DD set and it gets hazards now, so there's more to Whiscash than meets the eye, especially in the lower tiers. Now, onto Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff here, our friend, gets a Nasty Plot now, which is pretty nice, actually. Now, Wigglytuff isn't a Pokemon that's known for, being good whatsoever, even in PU. Like, it's pretty much trash most of the time, but it has competitive, and if you switch in on Defog, it's going to get a +2 special attack boost. Plus Nasty Plot, you could potentially have a +4 Wigglytuff, which especially has good coverage in Fire Blast and T-Bolt. And yeah, Wigglytuff seems pretty decent, actually. Well, will it be solid PU? Who knows? Like, only time will tell whether it's solid PU. But this could be a solid Trick Room Pokemon as well. I don't believe it has Trick Room naturally. Like, it doesn't sell Trick Room on its own, but it's a thing where it could actually work on Trick Room. It has a massive HP stat. You go max HP, max special attack, potentially get a Nasty Plot up, and then just start, hitting things hard. It does reach 295 special attack, which is not bad by lower tier standards whatsoever. So there's that for Wigglytuff, and yeah, it still has Wish to my knowledge. So yeah, Wigglytuff is going to be a pretty cool Pokemon. Now onto Zangoose. Now, this Zangoose is another example of a Pokemon where it gets a move where it necessarily is not using it, and it does not particularly count as a buff for it, but it does have agility. Now, Zangoose, does it have space for agility? Probably not, but if you go agility 3 attacks with Facade, Close Combat, and Night Slash, it lost knockoff, so you're kind of just going to have to run Night Slash to hit Ghost types. But with this, Zangoose could actually be pretty threatening, actually. Especially with Facade, basically Oko and everything that doesn't resist it. You can afford to run Adamant Nature, so you get 361 attack instead of 329. That's a massive gap in power. And yeah, agility. I don't know if Zangoose has like the bulk to stop on agility, but it's more of a thing where if Zangoose is able to force something out, particularly like even bulky waters now, which honestly don't have anything to punish Zangoose with other than like maybe a 3-hit KO. Like, you get up an agility, Facade, and you just kind of sweep. So Zangoose's sweeping potential is here now, because Zangoose's biggest issue with the Toxic Boost set was that it wasn't fast enough, and it also still keeps this issue of not being able to come in safely. But the main issue is that it wasn't that fast, and that's why it wasn't used in the higher tiers, because it could get outsped and easily forced out because it has no resistances outside of a ghost immunity. But now with agility, I could see Zangoose maybe running it, so maybe it is a buff. in disguise potentially. But we'll see how agility comes into Zangoose's moveset, because you could still get you know, swords dance, and obviously if you run agility you're not running quick attack, so you lose priority as well. So it's a double-edged sword in certain ways. And now the last Pokemon I want to talk about, again, this is another Pokemon that doesn't necessarily get a buff from this, but Zoroark, it gets crunched now. Not like it lost knockoff by any means, it still has knockoff by level up, so this isn't a buff at all. Zoroark is still a very fine Pokemon, so yeah, that's it really. Alright everybody, I hope you've enjoyed these 3-part videos discussing the buffs to all lower tier Pokemon. Some of these are going to be pretty game changing for some of these lower tier Pokemon. The ones that come off the top of my head are obviously CC Medicham and I can't remember anything else. It's mostly just CC Medicham. That's the thing I really care about. Like, it's gonna be so strong. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for the recent support lately on the channel. We're almost at 200 subscribers. I honestly thought 200 subscribers was like a pipe dream for the end of this year. Honestly, like, I was content with 150 if I got 150 by the end of the year. But we've easily just passed that goal. I appreciate all the comments on the latest videos as well. I'm just so happy that, you know, the channel's actually, you know, getting more exposure. You know, because I started this as like a hobby, you know, like I wasn't expecting to really get many subs, you know, like I was just uploading Pokemon videos to do with PU, like PU the lowest, you know, usage tier in singles, and I was just like, cool. But now that I've actually branched out my content in certain ways and you know, made all sorts of Pokemon variety content, especially with Generation 9 coming out, like all the tiers are getting uploaded, all the Pokemon are getting, you know, uploaded. So there's that as well. So I just want to thank you guys so much for the support on the channel, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.